The programming on Metro TV does not necessarily reflect the opinions of the Metro Council, the mayor, or Metro government staff.
Welcome to another installment of Leadership Landscape TV, where we go inside the minds of local community leaders and allow them a chance to offer some keen insights into how they see themselves and, most importantly, explore just what makes them tick. I'm Kirt Jacobs, host of Leadership Landscape TV, where previous interviews have included leaders from the world of politics, religion, business, sports, law, community activism, and civic engagement. Today, our 176th guest is Coach Dan McDonnell. He's the head coach of the men's University of Louisville baseball team, and we're coming to you on the University of Louisville campus's Swain Student Activity Center. Now, for those of you who don't know our guest, allow me to read some of Dan's bio. On June 27, 2006, McDonnell, one of the top young minds in college baseball, was named the 18th head coach of UofL's baseball team. UofL's AD, Tom Jurich, stated upon McDonnell's 2006 hiring, quote, "When we met him, he was the most prepared of any candidate that I have brought in on any interview in any sport. Recommendations for him came from across the country about his ability to recruit and handle student athletes. In less than 1 year of his hire, the Cardinals took the field at the hallowed Rosenblatt Stadium in Omaha for Game 1 of the 2007 College World Series. Not bad for 353 days on the job. As the first rookie head coach to lead his team to Omaha in 27 years, McDonnell was named National Coach of the Year by Rivals.com after coaching his team to a school record 47 wins. He then led the University of Louisville to 7 more NCAA appearances during the next 8 years, including back-to-back College World Series berths in 2013 and 2014, as well as 6 conference regular season titles and 2 conference tournament championships. Under McDonnell, Louisville ranked 6th nationally with 406 wins, including a school record 51 wins in 2013, and produced 22 All-Americans, 68 All-Conference selections, 5 Conference Pitcher of the Year winners, 3 Conference Player of the Year winners, and 1 Conference Freshman of the Year, while 43 players have signed professional contracts after being selected in the MLB's first-year player draft. Impressive. 2015 season was even highlighted by McDonnell being honored as the ACC Coach of the Year. Not too shabby. Winning is nothing new to McDonnell. In McDonnell's 24 NCAA baseball seasons as a player and coach, teams he has been a part of have averaged 38 wins per season and advanced to an NCAA regional in 15 of those seasons. As the top assistant and recruiting coordinator for Mike Bianco at Ole Miss for 6 seasons prior to taking over at Louisville, McDonnell and the Rebels had 4 top 20 recruiting classes and 3 groups ranked in the national top 10. In 1992, McDonnell graduated from the Citadel, and in 1995, he received his MBA. He is married to the former Julianne Underwood of Charlotte, North Carolina. The couple has 2 sons, Jake and Justin. Coach McDonnell, it's a true pleasure to have you here on Leadership Landscape TV today. Thanks for being here.
Appreciate it.
What drives you to excel in your area of expertise, in this case, collegiate baseball?
Love to compete and love to win and really get a lot of satisfaction out of watching these kids grow. 18 to 22 years old, they keep me young.
What is it about baseball in terms of coaching over the other sports? What is it about it that you love?
Well, there's you got to have a balance. I got a football mentality, but you can't get too hyped up and try to run through a wall. And the test of endurance, it's like a marathon. It's such a long season, so you're going to go through the highs and lows. And I think the challenge for us is how to adapt throughout a long college baseball season.
Okay. What was the most defining moment of your life, Coach?
Probably
maybe more than one, personal, professional?
There's probably, usually you hope there's more than one, I guess, but I would think going to the Citadel. Trusting God's plan. Back when you're 18 years old, and what school am I going to attend? And growing up in Westchester, New York, and a door opening in Charleston, South Carolina, you look back like, how does that happen? And it was the best decision I made. And then as an adult, probably Julie, my wife, and I getting baptized.
That's great.
I think that was making that public statement of faith.
Now, was that later in life or earlier in life?
I'd accepted Jesus Christ as a elementary, middle school guy, but never made that public announcement.
That's
and
great.
Being challenged in church to do it, and we both were convicted, and we didn't change our outfits. We didn't know that was part of the service. We just went up there with our clothes
Wow.
on, and we did
So it was kind of
very spontaneous.
organic,
Spontaneous
if
in
you
a
would
sense
say.
that it was offered,
Right.
but knowing in the back of our mind this is something that
beautiful.
we want to do.
That's great. Wow. Whom do you credit most influential in your life, Coach? It could be more than one, personal, professional.
I would look to my family. My mother showed me love, service, how to take care of others. My dad showed me how to work, punch the clock, get up every morning and work. He was so consistent, but yet always had a smile on his face, had a great attitude, was a joyful person. And then I have an older brother who's 7 years older than me. So growing up, I had a mentor, a coach. He could push my buttons. He could tell me when I was out of line.
Yeah.
But there was also love there and a caring for me. And so, he's a coach, a basketball coach. And so I look back and say, obviously, this is why I'm coaching today.
That's great. What is your biggest professional triumph? And again, it could be more than one, personal or professional.
Yeah,
fan.
as a player in 1990, getting a chance to play in the College World Series. And once I went into coaching, that kind of fires burn inside of you. Well, if I played in the College World Series, I sure want to coach in it. And then in 2007 here, my first year at Louisville, being a part of that group, going to the College World Series was a huge moment.
Do you think a coach is better having played the game they coach, or is it the individual?
I know there's some great coaches that maybe have never played the game. I played the game, so I try to go off of those experiences. And I had great coaches, so I go off of those experiences, what I learned. And to this day, I say a lot of the same things and use those quotes on our practice schedule back, 25 plus years ago when I played, I heard.
What is the best piece of advice ever given to you, Coach? Again, it could be more than one, personal or professional.
I think of one that my coach used to say is, excuses don't change man's love for the winner and scorn for the loser. And,
I like that.
And when you think about it,
It's
it's about just doing everything in your power to win. And when you lose, excuses really aren't going to make you feel any better. You just got to learn from it. And the great thing about baseball, you get a chance to bounce back tomorrow.
Yeah. There's always another season, a lot of games actually.
Yeah, I love
compared
football.
to other sports.
I'm close with a lot of football coaches, but I always say, man, I don't know how you could wait a whole week to play again.
Right,
I'd lose my mind.
Yeah.
So fortunately, I usually have 24 hours to get back in uniform.
Now, this show's called Leadership Landscape TV, so we ask every guest the obvious question. Can you define leadership in one word in the great English lexicon? If you need more than one, you can have it.
In one word, for me, I would say passion.
Okay.
And as you expand the ability to communicate, I think when you're passionate, people see your real qualities, how much you love the game and how much you love coaching them. And when you communicate, to a generation that has information at the palm of their hand, you have to be able to communicate in today's game.
What have you noticed a change in the players, if any, in terms of social media and how that's, the immediacy of a lot of things from I don't know if discipline's the right word, but coaching or respect or authority? How is that interplayed in the game?
Yeah, the old-fashioned way of, well, I said it, therefore you do it, doesn't connect as much with kids today. Like I said, with information for now their entire lives at the palm of their hands, being able to communicate with them. I think showing love, showing that you care, and for me, it's motivation. And I played for a coach who used a form of motivation, but I think constantly motivating the student athlete today is something that all sports gravitate to.
Wow, that's interesting. Now, this question I like to ask is kind of self-interpretive, and it can be self-aggrandizing or self-deprecating, whichever way you want to interpret it. If someone asked you, what is the single most positive contribution you've made to humanity, what is it? It's a big one.
Yeah, I mean,
I wouldn't say negative. That's not a fun question.
You hope, as I've gotten older and being a father and having high school, middle school boys, you hope that you're making an impact on these kids' lives. And we might not see it in these 4 years they're with us, but knowing they're going to go on and become fathers, husbands, ambassadors of this community.
Sure.
If we live in the greatest country in the world, then our job is to help this next generation continue to make this the greatest country in the world. And we have a lot of challenges in America. And so I hope that we plant those seeds and we get to see them blossom in years to come.
If you could change one thing in general or in your own life, what might that be, Coach? You can self-interpret it. 30,000 feet up, global, political, personal, social.
Yeah.
Magic wand questions, I call it.
I don't know if I changed much of anything. Had loving parents, like I said, a big brother that looked out for me and trusted God's plan, or I followed God's plan. I don't know if I always trusted it.
Right.
So I feel like I'm blessed, and He's blessed me, and so it's my job to let His light shine through and glorify Him. It's been a good life.
That's great. Now, you mentioned passion earlier on the leadership question, so a lot of times that dovetails into this big mouthful question that we ask all our guests. Can you describe in particular detail a scenario or certain incident where you utilize your philosophy on leadership? You know, you'd mentioned passion earlier. You know, maybe it could be a teammate, a team, another coach. It could be anything.
Yeah, I think it's a day-to-day situation. I think the kids see it. And what I've always said in athletics, competition brings out the very best and the very worst.
That's a good
So
point.
players know you're good and you're bad, and they know that my passion is because of my competitiveness, my desire to compete and win, but for my desire for them to experience the things that I got to experience as a player, and you know, so I just kind of lean on those. Don't try to be perfect, just learn day in and day out from the good and bad decisions you make.
Now, I had a question sent to me by one of the people that watches our show. It says, wanted me to ask you specifically, and they knew you were going to be on. It says, there has been a radical cultural change under our leadership of the baseball team in recent years, and what has that come, with that has come a lot of success. What do you attribute to the culture change?
Well, I stepped into a great situation. You know, Tom Jurich and the leadership above, to Jim Patterson Stadium, to facilities.
Beautiful facility.
And you know, being able to, I've always said you win in life with people. Now I've said over the last year or two, you win in life with the right people. And we had the right people. You know, we had the right assistant coaches, the right support staff. We obviously had the right athletic director, and I was part of the process. And fortunately, we had an older group in 2007 that believed in what we were doing. Showed the rest of the country that we can win,
right.
And that gave us the momentum to recruit.
Set the tone.
Recruit good players from good families.
You know, Tom Jurich, the athletic director, he stated in all the hires he's made, in terms of the first interview, you were the most prepared candidate he had ever met with, and it's in the bio, and he had stated that you had the most recommendations from across the country.
Yeah.
I thought that's, from someone like him, that's a pretty impressive
I
statement.
laugh because it's probably when you get rejected enough times, you better be prepared when you go in that interview. And and a funny story, you know, not knowing the rivalry in this state as to how passionate it was, I almost wore a royal blue golf shirt on my interview, and he insisted I wear a golf shirt, and I had a white one and a blue and black one, and they were both NCAA type, you know, college baseball shirts, and I'm glad I chose the white one.
Yeah, that was a smart move. If someone asked you, what does Coach Dan McDonnell stand for, what would you tell them? Not what they would say about you, which I always say may not be suitable for TV, but what would you tell them?
Oh, I stand for my players. They know I'll fight for them. I care for them on and off the field. I stand for taking advantage of the opportunity to compete. You know, I love the opportunity to compete and win, and again, not just between the lines, but outside the field of play. So making sure that these kids grow and they learn the great lessons you can learn from playing a college sport, that these lessons can help them for the rest of their lives.
Do you think there's a difference in today's coaches in terms of leadership than in past generations, or just since the start of your own career?
You know, we have a lot more media attention on us.
Sure.
You know, our bad moments can get exposed, and could be the demise of coaches where, you know, maybe 20, 30, 40 years you could get away with making a mistake. So, you know, the negative is sometimes we're on eggshells because we're human, we're going to make mistakes. and you'd hate for someone who worked their whole life to get to where they're at, and because of one bad decision, it could be cut off. So the media has brought great attention to our good qualities, but also our bad ones.
Now, this is a part of the interview where I like to do what I call picture association. I'll just hold them up, and you can describe what's going on. So this is you. It looks like at practice with a clipboard. And why this comment? Why do you have that where all the players see it? It says,
Be dangerous, something we got from a spiritual book about being bold. And I've always challenged our kids. To be dangerous is to say we're going to go to Omaha and win a national championship, because only one team gets to go to Omaha. 8 teams get to celebrate. Only one team wins a national championship. Only 8 teams go to Omaha. So being dangerous means don't be afraid to put it on the line.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And then here's a nice pic of celebration of the
it's my favorite
big one. Yeah, I love it. That's why I wanted to show it.
We tally them up in our 9 years, 16 dog piles, and we're hoping to add 1, 2, or 3.
It always amazes me. I never hear of a broken finger or arm in those things.
Believe me, we hold our breath.
I hear you. So here's Coach, this is you with Athletic Director Jurich on the win. I think it's 2014. Yeah. And then here you are, press conference. I love the hat.
Yeah.
I love the hat going on here.
Well, as a young coach in my 20s, a dermatologist said, you better take care of your skin. And I grew up a lifeguard, a caddy, playing outdoor sports, and I needed that tan to look good, and I made a lot of bad decisions. So I'm fighting the sun now.
I love this, the way your coaching style. I don't know if all baseball coaches, but you're right up in their grill. I mean, you're right up in it.
Well, they know. I coach the infielders, so especially so I stand by the infielders. I was always taught you better have a clipboard or a piece of paper close by, because as things pop into your head, you got to be able to write them down. So the clipboard is kind of a standard piece of equipment for me.
Now, I don't know if this is common in baseball, but not all sports have the coach with the players. Usually it's just the coach kind of doing, I guess, the post-game analysis.
Well, at least
you know, any thoughts about that?
At least if you're sitting there, they can't say anything bad about you.
This is true.
Keep an eye on them.
This is true. This is good.
So I've always enjoyed hearing what they have to say and watching them grow as they're here.
Yeah. Now this one I'm going to read and then I'll hold up. It's you here. This nice quote. It says, "We need to take advantage of this opportunity." It's regards to the Super Regional Championship. "People ask me what we're going to do differently this time. Last year was so emotional, and maybe we let all our emotions out in Nashville. We're not going to get too giddy. We're not going to get too high. We're going to celebrate with our families and friends. We're going back to work, and we're going to stay focused." I thought that was just boom. I mean, just.
I think we hope as coaches, I always say, experience is not always a positive thing. Just because someone says they have experience, it's got to be, for me, it's growing and with wisdom and making good decisions. And you hope I learn from one year to the next, hoping that I'm going to be, you either get better or you get worse.
Right.
There's no guarantee you get better. So I hope I make better decisions year in and year out.
Yeah. Now this next one I love. It's your 400 wins. Did you ever think 400 wins? When you started this journey?
No, it's not something I kind of, in one sense, I have a tough time living in the moment, because I'm always worried about the future. But that comes down to players and teams. I don't get caught up on a number like that.
And then here you are, the team celebrating. And more dog piles, I think, coming up here.
I love it, because the reality is they only get 3 or 4 years. So they only get so many opportunities. And when you do something like that, when you dogpile, you're connected for the rest of your life. And these guys, when they do something amazing, they get a chance to be part of that bond, that family for the rest of their life. And it keeps them connected to the program. So selfishly, I like that.
I like that. That's cool. And here's a big win. Looks like celebrating right at the end.
That was the first trip to the College World Series. We beat Oklahoma State in the Super Regionals here at Jim Patterson, and that definitely springboarded us to the success in the future.
I love how you guys can remember the exact game. That's why you're the head coach.
Yeah.
And then here's a nice team photo I thought was nice to share with
that's kind of been our tradition. Dogpile when it happens, but then afterward we got to take that celebration photo.
Now this is a question that I think some audience members would want to ask. Baseball is not traditionally a quick sport like basketball or maybe even arguably football. The pace of society has changed. They've talked about speeding up the game, I think, in the major leagues. What are your thoughts on the future of baseball, the good, the bad, and the ugly? Do you see the same quality players coming up, the young ones to replace the ones going out? Do you feel like it still is what it is?
You always have to adapt to what the fans want. And when you see the NFL, the NBA, or Major League Baseball, you're always making concessions for the fans. So if the fans want us to speed the game up, then we have to do that. We have to take less time in between pitches. We have to limit the batter getting out of the batter's box. We have to in and out quickly off the field because the fans and TV are what make this game so popular. And so I think that's been a common theme I've seen in all sports. And you have to be willing to adapt. It's funny because baseball might be the sport where they try to hold on to history as much as any of them. But like I said, there's bad experience, man. There's bad history in baseball. There's things we do in the game that I've never agreed with. I don't care. We've done it for 100 years. Taking out the catcher or taking out a second baseman, turning a double play, I think is ridiculous. Play football if you want to tackle somebody, really. But it's one of those, well, we've done it for 100 years, so it must be the right thing to do. You can't be afraid to change. And you see it in all sports. You got to make change over the years, over the decades. You got to adapt to the fan and what they want.
Now, if athletic director Jurich came to you and said, Dan, you've done a great job. Why don't you take 2 full weeks, 14 calendar days, 10 business days, get lost. Where do you go? What do you do? Who do you take with you?
Oh, man, that's easy.
No technology, which is really not a realistic question. But
that's easy. I grab Julie and my boys, my immediate family, extended family. I grab all my friends. We go to Hawaii for 2 weeks. I've never been to Hawaii.
Oh, yeah, you'd love it.
My wife's always bugging me.
You'd have to wear that hat, though.
Oh, yeah. I'm not much for going on the beach, but just to be with my family and friends. I'm a people person. I love being around them. I love laughing with them, socialize with them. Love the holidays. And so to get them all in one place, it's almost like you're getting married again, where you get your family and friends together for a celebration.
Now, this is a more somber question that we ask all of our guests. If you could have dinner with only one person, living or dead, who would it be and why?
And I think of my dad because I miss my dad and loved his personality and his enthusiasm for life. When I think of a spiritual side, I think of someone like Billy Graham. Just to feel that wisdom, that passion come off of him, trying to grab some of it and learn from him, and what an influence he had and still has today. And it's people like that motivate us to, leave your mark, make an impact, not just with your players, but as we call it, that butterfly effect. I call it the Tim Tebow effect. You don't have to reach as many people as Tim Tebow reached, but reaching one is important. So let's reach as many people as we can.
If you could have written a letter to the younger self, younger Dan, what might you have told yourself? As young as you want it to be.
Again, with wisdom, as we get older, I would say just trust God's plan. It's not, you're not going to get everything you want. You're not going to get everything you pray for and ask for. But at the end of the day, trust His plan. And to me, that kind of goes back to, going to the Citadel and a New York kid going to Charleston, South Carolina, and then you meet a Southern girl, and your kids are born in South Carolina and Mississippi, and here you are coaching at Louisville. So you look back on it and you go, thank you for not answering all the other prayers I had, but pointing me to the Citadel in Charleston, and it's been great.
That's great. Now we ask this last question of all our guests, young or older, any walk of life. If it all ends today, Dan, how do you want to be remembered? God forbid it. This is it.
Yeah. Hopefully they say, man, he competed. He loved to compete. He was passionate about the game. And then he cared about his players. At the end of the day, I just want them to realize, man, he cared for me. And they might not see it all now. But as they grow older, I want them to look back on this experience and go, man, that guy really cared for me.
I think it's a great note to end on. It's quite a pleasure and
You
honor
got
to
it.
have you on
Thank
Leadership
you.
Landscape TV.
Honored to
Keep
be
up
here.
the great work, man.
Thank you.
Thanks for adding you to our guest.
Appreciate it.
If you have any general feedback or a suitable guest suggestion, feel free to email me at kurt@leadershiplandscapetv.com. We're all over social media. Just type in Leadership Landscape TV. Until next time, I'm Kirt Jacobs. Thanks for watching.
Metro TV, a public service of Louisville Metro government.